Good evening, viewers and listeners. We are live and welcome to the Seven City Shoptalk Sports Show, broadcasting live from the beautiful state of Virginia to you all over the world. And I can tell you, we got some good topics to talk about today. Had a little bit of a break last week, but we're gonna get this show on the road pretty quickly. I know we may have a few other the co-hosts jump in as well. But before we go further, we got my man C Wood in the house. What's going on, C Wood?
Hey, Law. Doing good, man. Doing good. Your beard's
Yeah,
looking good. My beard's looking good. We ready to rock.
yeah, man. We're ready to get this thing. We're ready to get this show started, man. Uh, and like I said, the finest beards, uh, this side of the state. But yeah, so we got some things. Like I said, we're gonna jump into. And as the marquee read, we'll talk about the Shedur Sanders situation. What in the heck is going on with that, and some opinions. I may have one of my friends jump in. Prime Star. His name is Prime. His real name is Primus, and we call him Prime. Um, Mr. Stafford, Prime Freddie Stafford. Have my man jump in here, and he's he's a Dion follower kind of a guy. He's a Florida State guy, and he likes Michigan as well. But we'll get into that, and then we'll get into some of the basketball and football recruiting has kind of taken off and has actually done kind of well in the eyes of others as well. So what we'll do here before we get started, we want to thank you for joining us in another episode of our brand of dysfunctional camaraderie. And as of now, this shop is open. So yes, as I said before, I am Big Law, your host, and of course got my co-host, my sidecar, my man Chad Wood in the building. So the topic right now, let's just open it right on up with us Shedur, man. This has legs and it seems like it slowed down a little bit because during the draft about a week and a half ago, it was a lot of information, a lot to digest of what was going on with him and what a lot of people thought was going on. But now it seems like it's growing some legs again, in where some people are saying that there was collusion, some people saying that he was blackballed. There was there's a lot of things being said about the Shedur Sanders situation. But go ahead and let me see what you got to say, Wood. I'm very interested in getting your take on this.
Yeah, so obviously anybody that knows football or anything about football knows Shedeur Sanders. He's a better pick than a fifth round pick. I mean, that's common sense. Me personally, I think the Browns. I mean, yes, don't get me wrong, he dropped significantly to the fifth round, but the Browns is not a bad spot for him, to be honest with you. Because if you look at their roster, I mean, he has a chance to win that job. I mean, what they got Joe Flacco, Watson. I don't think he's on. Is he on the roster still?
He is, but I don't think that he's coming back at all. I just think that
Right.
he's
Probably
just trying to
suspended or
get the
so
buyout
they
and
moved the guy in the third round. I think they picked a quarterback in the third,
mm-hmm.
but I don't know, Law.
Dylan.
You hear different things about he was arrogant and he didn't do the pro day, he didn't do any combine. He came in arrogant with $100,000 necklace on his neck. I mean, you can read into it as much as I can. What you hear, is it true, is it not? But obviously, there was an agreement across the league, whether it be an official agreement among the owners. A, we're not selecting this guy until we absolutely have to, and try to avoid all illegal activities in doing so, or this guy really bombed his interview. He's arrogant. We don't want to deal with him, and he's never been coached by anybody other than Dion. So is he coachable on this level? Do we have to deal with Dion? Obviously, that's a part of it, in my opinion. But is it more so that the talent is there? Obviously, he's not the whatever quarterback taken in the fifth round. He's obviously probably the second, if not, well, Cam Ward, you could argue. He's top three talent wise. So was it collusion? I don't know. I don't think I'll go that far, but there was definitely an agreement maybe after interviews, if that's what you want to chalk it up to. Obviously, Deion plays a partner. Excuse me, he plays a factor in this, whether it's good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
Do people think Deion's going to be more involved than he should? He wants an NFL coaching job. Is he going to be interfering more? So probably not, to be honest. But was that in their minds? Was it solely he bombed the interviews? Probably not. I think it's just a combination of everything. I don't think it was, in my opinion, personally, I don't think it was full collusion. Let's blackball this kid. But at the same time, it wasn't, we're going to draft him on his talent, obviously. I think there was a little bit of both. And I think when you add in quote unquote distractions from Deion and a little bit of cockiness in his interviews, that's why he fell. Should he have fallen? Absolutely not. But that's my take. I think it's somewhere in the middle. I don't think it's as far as top or bottom as people think it is. I think it's somewhere in the middle, but you can make the argument for either side.
That's a good take, Wood. And I appreciate that. And I'm I'm a little bit on the latter side of the conversation, what you were saying, and meaning for me, from the way I feel about it is okay. He came in with a kind of a defensive back mentality. I think with his dad being who he is, and that's, there's no way around people like that or players like that. You're going to get guys who are arrogant, brash, wealthy, flashy, whatever, and they do what they do. I think whenever you're coming into a organization as the CEO or the face of a franchise, I don't think that you need to come in with with a persona or an attitude. I don't know is the right word, but maybe a persona. Coming in saying, I don't really, care if you don't draft me, which is kind of along the lines of what he said, because somebody will draft me right behind you. It's kind of what, he came off as. The interviews, I was definitely interested in hearing what they had to say about the interviews. Of course, in the interviews, they were saying something to the effect of that he came in with the headphones, blaring, blasting, strong, ton of cologne, and just kind of like offensive from the
That
start.
Burberry.
Yeah, right. Being offensive and just superficial, but just externally offensive to people. And they're like, okay, kids coming in, and having the headphones blaring, that, and then also having the did you hear about the FaceTime call?
No, with who?
He had a FaceTime call come in one of the interviews, and
During a live interview, he answered a FaceTime.
right, and didn't
No, I didn't
finish,
hear that.
and did not get off the call. Didn't hang up the call. He proceeded to let the call stay on while he's at a live interview with a professional
He's
football
like, hold on,
player.
I'm at a job interview. Hold on, real quick. Let me answer this phone real quick.
Right, and didn't hang it up. Answered it and didn't hang it up, for what I understand. Devin saying, if you're a losing team and you draft Shedur, Deion is not far from taking your head coach spot. That's what my buddy was saying. I'm waiting for him to jump in here to add some of that. Also, Aaron Moser, NFL teams like to mold their QB. I love his confidence, but cockiness, NFL teams look down on that. I don't know if teams totally look down on it. I think that he says, glad to see UVA loading up on players. That's right, Devin. It's my man Devin, Aaron, my guy. Shout out to my guys in the chat. Yeah, so I feel like as I hear the stories, I want to hear the stories. What in the heck is saying, even if it's not 100%. Typically, people don't understand that the NFL, they're like the FBI as far as when they do their research on kids. They can find out anything about you from 6th grade, from when you stole from the corner store, and and all the way up until they draft. They can find any information about you that they want. So that's something that I feel like they did their research on them. And being that Deion's dad, of course, they live in the open. They're not you know reclusive about anything that they do. And I think also there was another story with Brian Daboll. If anybody, did you guys watch, or by any chance, did you watch the Giants uh, Hard Knocks last NFL draft, when Jaden Daniels was 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 uh was still a draft possibility for the Giants? I think the Giants were picking like either third or fourth, and they had Jaden Daniels come in, and they quizzed him. They gave him a package. Brian Daboll, who's a really good head coach of the Giants, and a quarterback guy. He quizzes his quarterbacks. Obviously, he sent a package to, just like he did with Jaden Daniels. He sent a package to him, to Shedur, to study. And it's just like when you put a kid on a grease board and you want him to diagnose a play, right, Wood? Did you play quarterback, Wood?
Yeah, 2003.
Okay, all right. So you totally understand this. You get this. Whenever you put a kid on the grease board, a quarterback on the grease board in particular, and you say, hey, whatever coverages you see, I want you to call out your formations, call out the play, call out the protections, everything, right? And Dayball did this. He gave him a package.
But I think you can make a big mistake with doing that, just like he did. But I'll let you finish. But that's not, I think that part of film is overrated, because you can make a big mistake just because 30 seconds of film on the guy. But anyway, go ahead and finish. But obviously he made a mistake.
Well, it wasn't even the film, because apparently Shedur didn't even study the film. It wasn't even the fact that he didn't know what was going on the film. He didn't even do his homework with it. And Dayball called him out on it. And
no, I'll say with Jaden Daniels when he did it.
Oh, Jaden Daniels did the work and aced it.
Right.
But even if he aced,
back when
even
Dayball
if
was
he
with Buffalo,
didn't ace it,
Josh Allen, I don't think he did well as far as.
I don't think he did, but his talent
what you see,
succeeded. His talent far succeeded what he may have messed up on.
100%. But no, I'm not defending it. I'm just saying you can make a big mistake just by going off of that.
No,
20-second clip of what you read and what you don't read.
Absolutely right, Wood. And obviously they didn't do that with the Giants. I mean, they didn't do that with the Buffalo Bills. They still drafted the kid. And Jaden Daniels, on the other hand, got it right, and made the right reads, made the right calls. And he gave Shedur kind of the same thing. And he didn't even attempt, obviously, to get it right. And then Dayball said, hey, what the hell gives, my man? Weren't you supposed to, I gave it to you. I sent it to you in time. You didn't get it finished. And Shedur was, I guess, not like kind of like a so what kind of an attitude, or maybe like, I didn't want to do it, or whatever he said to him, but he just didn't complete it. And Dayball called him out on it. And Dayball was like, dude, what's up? And they say Shedur did not take a liking that he was being called out by the coach. So that, it wasn't even the fact that he didn't even know what to do. It was Shedur's talent. To me, is like he needed everything in his power to kind of go his way to get one of those top 3 jobs that went in the first round. And for me, talent. This was a very, very weak quarterback class. That's one thing we all have to agree upon. This was an awful quarterback class. If you compare it to last year, you're looking at any quarterbacks that were taken in the first round, they were all, from a scouting standpoint, better than all the guys taken. Everybody, if these quarterbacks were in the draft last year, they would have all went second, third round and later. And that's just because the quarterback needy teams are going to do that. What's going on, Henry Davis? Thank you for tuning in as well, my man Devin, he says, I do think his swagger turned a lot of head coaches off from him. He got to deal with it now, but he has been behind the eight ball before at JSU and Colorado and succeeded. But Cleveland, there's no Dion. Yeah, and you said something, well, and I, knowing that his dad is the only one who's ever coached him. I think that's a red flag as well. And you can probably attest to that as well, being that, I think players need to be coached by different coaches to learn different things different ways. If your dad's always the coach and can always give you the benefit of the doubt or always bail you out, not saying that Dion did that, but there's just that psychology as a player that my dad's the coach. I have that comfort level. I have that blanket, and
Well,
maybe it's not.
There's also that part if you have a bad season. Dion has made it clear he'll coach him. He'll coach in NFL if he coaches his sons. Obviously, so as a head coach, maybe as a GM, you have in the back of your mind. If you have a bad season, that opens up the door for your head coach being in peril. Is Dion going to come coach this team, or they're going to fire me just because he? Anybody want Dion as a coach just for the money and the flash that he brings. So head coaches might think, hey, if I have a bad season or two bad seasons and I have him on the roster, will the organization be up to having Dion take my job?
True indeed. I mean, would Dion? Another thing is, would Dion be a good pro coach? That's
I don't know, but he said he'd be willing to do it if he could coach his son. So I don't know.
I don't think that's the right thing to say either.
No, I don't think Dion helped him. I don't think he helped himself. But
no, I mean, why don't you just get a coaching job? How about get a pro coaching job? How about be a position coach? It's okay that you don't have to come in and be the head coach. Why don't you coach DBs? You're one of the best DBs of all time. If not, people call you.
So what's your overall take? You think he got drafted about where he needs to be?
I think he got he should have got drafted a little higher than what he was. I thought he was maybe a third round, maybe late two kind of a talent. Everything's catered to him. Everything is, I know, and that goes for all quarterbacks that are in a system. But they threw the ball every play. The running back we actually got, had what, 350 yards when he was there, and apparently he's a good running back. He was a 4-star running back in the portal. And he, that's the one Dion was talking about. He let us get one. He was ranked as like a 4-star running back in the portal, which to me was a surprise. I'm like, well, damn, if he was ranked that high, how come he only had that many yards? Just because they didn't run the ball, and if they were gonna, his Shedur's numbers were supposed to be what they are, I think they should have been a little higher. I know that they're saying, oh, he's super accurate, but I know he threw a lot, close to the line of scrimmage, and he did make some throws down the field. But I don't know. I don't know if he was hard to me. He's kind of hard to evaluate because I don't necessarily see like really special. I seen a competitor now. He's a competitor. He's got some go-getter, once he's on the field and and he's trying to make some plays, but I don't see like, a franchise talent. There you go. He's not a franchise talent, franchise altering talent. I can see him as a backup, but that's no good either. You get him as a backup, like you said, he could bring a circus, being a backup. And that's one thing you don't want. And I think they're under a lot of people who are, on the Shedur side of things are underplaying the circus and the continuity in a locker room. That's a real big thing when you start dealing with grown men. It's like, don't bring that here in our don't mess up our energy with some of this stuff. We're a team, we're together, we're all as one. We're not separate. But I would like to see how he does at Cleveland. I mean, it's a spot where he needed to go. A place where he needed to go where he could probably have an opportunity to play, or not even play, even just to compete. And they should give him a fair shot. I know they passed on him before, 3 times, I guess, 4 times, because every time Cleveland was on the clock, they're like, Cleveland had like 2 picks in the first 2 out of 4 picks in the second round. They're like, Shedur must be going, in the first, one of these 2 picks in the first of the second round. And when they passed on him twice, then we kind of was like, ooh, something is really up right now. And then he just, free fell until they came back and got him in the 5th. I mean, it's unfortunate. I think some people are saying, oh, he should sue and he lost $40 million. But understand that, you're going to have to pay your dues. Especially when I think his dad did him more of a disservice to me when I look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. When you go out, I mean, you can make the argument, Eli Manning. When Deion said there's certain schools he won't play for, I think that turned a lot of people away. But
look,
like you said,
he could do that, Wood, if he had Eli's talent.
No, right? No, I'm with you, but you kind of stumped Skip Bayless.
John Elway too.
I thought we were taking the opposite sides of things, but you kind of stumped Skip Bayless on this one.
Oh.
But no, I don't think Deion did him any favors. I don't think he did any favors. It's kind of like going into a job interview. I mean, dumb it down for regular people. When you go to a job interview, you don't. Obviously, he didn't show up for the combine. He thinks what he did on film was enough. They retired his jersey, but he was 500 at best. But you basically, when he said, if you're not trying to redo the culture of your program, don't draft me. I mean, that's not really a smart thing to say, because I don't think a lot of programs out there are going to rebuild everything around Shedur Sanders when there's a talent there. Yeah, the talent is there, no doubt. But you're saying if you don't want to redo your whole culture, don't draft me. You're basically telling people don't draft me. And you got your dad saying there are certain programs, I won't say who it is, but don't draft my son. He's not going to come there. So I don't think his dad did him. I don't think he did a favor. I don't think he should have fallen to the 5th round. But it'll be interesting to see in Cleveland. What do they got? 5 quarterbacks now. So it'll be interesting to see if he even makes the roster, to be honest with you.
Was it Watson, Flacco? Right? Watson, Flacco, Dillon Gabriel, Shedur.
I think they have another one too.
They do.
So they got 5 quarterbacks.
Yeah. So what do we, what exactly do you do?
So they drafted that Dillon guy over top of it. I mean,
yeah, right on top of. I mean, but
that says a lot. I mean, talent wise, that's a stupid pick, but he doesn't have.
Well, I think they should have just. I think they should have just passed on Shedur if that was the case. I don't think. I Dillon Gabriel can spin that thing now. Dillon Gabriel's a better athlete. He can run the ball. He has great feet. Bigger numbers.
So what are you saying? Are you saying he shouldn't have been drafted at all?
I don't know. I'm not saying he shouldn't have been drafted. I'm just saying he is a anomaly right now, because I don't even know. I mean, he's second round, third round. That's probably his landing spot in my eyes. I don't think he's a starter. I'm thinking about it. I don't think he's better than 25 quarterbacks in the league, right? I think he can compete with the back end of quarterbacks, or be in the discussion to possibly start. And that's what quarterbacks are just awful in the league. Maybe 27. Maybe the bottom 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the league, he can try to, just like he is at the Cleveland. He's in the mix to compete for a job with the last 4 or 5 quarterback hungry teams in the league. And I think that's where he is. But I want to see how this goes, because it is going to be a big time deal. It'll be a big time deal once these reports continue to come out. It's a situation where if we can fast forward to the future and see, what is going to happen. I don't think we can predict it just based off of what has happened so far. Something like this has never happened. A player that was projected to go first round type ish area, and also try to go maybe probably if not the first, definitely the second, but then the free fall to the fifth. I mean, we've seen quarterbacks free fall. Aaron Rodgers, Johnny Manziel, guys who thought they were going to go earlier, and then they free fall and they still get drafted in the first. I haven't seen somebody who was projected to be in the first round, and free fall all the way to the fifth. That's frightening, And for him, I mean, I get it. He's you know, the confidence piece, and then his dad piece. Like I said, I don't think his dad did him any favors. I think that sometimes, you can be a little too over the top, and I don't think he did. I think if he would have, I think there needed to be somewhat of a humbling from inside, from his parents or from Deion. Deion knows how the league works, and Deion knows that you can be Deion, but you got to have Deion Hall of Fame talent, and Deion knows that. And I know you want to, just like your father or your mother, you got a child, you want to push them up. You want to give them as much confidence as you can. You want to make them feel like they can conquer the world, but you also got to have them or help them be realistic about what the world can do to you as well, especially when you're not as exceptional as you think you are, but the kid does have talent. I don't think he has, Eli talent. That's why, the league showed. And the thing about it is, guys who have the talent and, they get drafted even with issues. You have players with, domestic violence issues get drafted in the first, second round, and all different types of questionable things get drafted early, but one thing about it is that's your quarterback. Your quarterback needs to be a humble player, in my opinion. He needs to be a leader of men. I don't look at that as I wouldn't want my team following a kid like Shedur. That's just me. How you feel about that, Wood? Let me ask you that. You being a coach, right? Coach Wood. Hey, we have there's a new player on here, and he's just like Shedur. I mean, would you want your players emulating him? You know what I mean? On the field and shining watches and doing this extra stuff and being, I don't know. Give me your opinion on that.
No, I get what you're saying, and the answer is no. But at the same time, it comes with what round, what value,
Mm-hmm.
what does it cost you compared to what it's going to pay out.
The juice is worth the squeeze.
Yeah, exactly. So it's hard to tell at this point. Like I said, fifth round, I think that's a little low, and I think, like you said, you agree. I'd have probably taken a chance. But the question is, if his last name wasn't Sanders, even with that, the show,
it would have been. I think it would have been worse if his name wasn't Sanders. I don't know if he would have got drafted.
Really?
Yeah. I think about it. If this was a kid,
because you go to Colorado and retired his number or whatever. I mean, not hating on the kid, but what is he, 500? I mean, he wasn't.
Yeah.
You talk about Johnny Manziel, and you talk about other guys that had Baker Mayfield that had issues, but they won the Heisman Trophy. You know what I mean?
And they got they got real pro talent you can see right now. I don't see like Shedur like being in that in their bracket at all right now. I don't see him being that having that talent level. Not saying that he can't get there. Any quarterback, with some of the measurables, can kind of get there. You don't have to have the strongest arm. You don't have to have, if you got the intellect, you got the, the attitude, you got the right mindset, you have some accuracy, you can be a serviceable quarterback. See Chad Pennington, right? Who wound up being like a decent quarterback, but from a measurable standpoint, he wasn't athletic. He had a water pistol arm. You know what I mean? But he had some decent years at the Jets where he was serviceable. He made some plays. He, could get the ball down the field. He was accurate. Even though he had a water pistol, he was accurate for an arm. But I don't know. I think there's some things that he needs to work on. And hopefully he's working on those things. And I know, and hopefully, I don't know. Like I said, if I'm Dion, I kind of talk to my kid and tell him, all right, how about we just take a step back a little bit. I'm not in control of the situation. I won't be in control of the situation for a while, even if I ever have a shot at it. You're on your own, and you have to be a certain way. And as you're a certain way, let's tone it down a little bit. Because right now, that's all he has. That's all he can do. He has to go out and prove himself. Right? He has to prove himself by himself. So that's a great thing, Go ahead.
Well, you had Dion, then you had him in interviews. Like I said, if you don't want to change your culture, don't draft me. You got Dion in the background. You got that whole setup on the draft night. He's not there. I don't know if he was invited or whatever, but you got the whole thing legendary with your diamonds and everything set up, and it's more of a show. And I think that turned a lot of owners off, a lot of GMs off. But I don't know. I think, like you said,
he would have got drafted. I think he would have got drafted if his talent, surpassed the flash and dash. Like, put it this way,
if your value is more than a distraction, the value wins.
If Jaden Daniels was that way, Jaden would have got drafted.
Yeah.
Who went before Jay? Oh, if Caleb Williams was that way, Caleb Williams would have still got drafted. You know what I mean?
That's just not football. I mean, that's basketball, baseball, any sport you play. If your value is more your distraction, people are going to take a risk on you. But I think there was a time where people had decided that his talent is not worth all the distractions. So I don't know. I wish him well. I think Cleveland's a good spot for him. We'll see what happens. But, you can't go into a job interview and say, basically, I don't want this job if it's not, where I want to go, what I'm going to do. My dad says the same thing. And then I'm going to have a draft night. I'm gonna have a whole setup, legendary and all this shit. How are you legendary when you're 500? They retired your jersey at Colorado, and I don't even know if you were a 500 quarterback. You never won anything.
I think it was 13 and 12.
Right. I mean, you're what 500 quarterback do you know has their jersey retired anywhere?
I don't know. I don't know. But I don't know if I've seen that.
So no, I get your point, but you kind of confused Skip Bayless here. I thought we were going to argue different points tonight, so you got me off guard.
I think we're on somewhat of different points. I mean, no, I mean, I just looking at it, I'm just I don't see him being, I don't know. I like I said, I wish the kid well. I want to see him grind. I want to see him make it out of the Cleveland situation. Cleveland, if there's a place who needs a quarterback, it's Cleveland. They just hired 55-year-old Joe Flacco, so if they're hiring a 55-year-old Flacco to run or to be the quarterback of the franchise until somebody can step up and take it, a younger guy, Shedur, should have an opportunity going against Dylan Gabriel. And I don't think it's going to be easy because Dylan Gabriel, I think is a little better than what people think, but we'll see. Good conversation about Shedur. Let's get into football, Wood. Let's get into football, man. So, UVA, I mean, what are we going to call UVA now? We're going to call them what? The Diamond Mine. What are we going to call UVA? I mean, they're since the 26th of April, right? Let's see here. What do we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They have bought in 7 players. And if I go back a day, the 25th, that's 8 players. But we'll just go with the 7. They bought in 7 players from, decent football programs with, transfer portal. And obviously there's NIL money flying around. Harrison Whaley, running back from Wyoming. Christian Charles, DB from Tennessee. Jordan Robinson, safety from Cincy. Emmanuel Carnley, DB from Miami. DeMarcus Crosby, DB from New Mexico State. David Wallaba, offensive lineman from Syracuse. Macklin Thomas from Arkansas State. Outside of the Arkansas State, like as far as like the pedigree, you know, I like it. I mean, I like what they see. You remember how you even said a couple weeks ago, you know, who else is looking at these kids? Not like, you know, Rice or, no shade on Rice, but, you know, some smaller schools, you know, Ohio University. Before, you know, that would be the argument that you would have for sure would. Like, you know, if Massachusetts is looking at them and UConn, you know, and Valpo State are looking at them, that's not a recipe for the talent to be successful in the ACC. But a lot of these guys are coming from reputable schools, and also the other schools trying to get them that UVA is competing with is absolutely on everybody else's radar as well. Give me some, Wood. Talk to me about this as well. What is your opinion on that?
Well, I mean, now all the excuses are out the window as far as, you know,
Yeah, man.
recruiting or whatever the case may be. I mean, God bless him, the tragedy years ago. We weren't putting up the money. He didn't have the tools he needed to recruit. He has the tools now. We spent a ton of money. I think, I want to say a couple of the quarterbacks got north of $2 million from what I hear. I don't know if it's true or not, but offensive line, you know, if you look at those schools who were competing against to get these guys and they're coming here, I mean, NIL is obviously the number one answer. I'm not saying that's the total answer, but we spent a ton of money for this roster coming up in the fall. I feel good about this roster. I mean, I'm not national championship bound, but he has, I'll just say like this, a lot of your excuses are out of the window. So it's time to put up or shove, to be honest, for Tony Elliott. You know, we've invested all this money. Obviously he had the injury to Monroe Mills, but you know, he's got depth at quarterback. He seems like he's got depth offensive line. He's got some good receivers. It sounds like they beefing up the secondary, which was their biggest problem. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm rooting for him, and you know, I'm like you. I hope we win 10 games, but you know, a lot of the excuses are out the window now. As far as we don't have the players, we don't have the money, blah blah, academics, blah blah blah. It's time to go now.
That is true in every syllable, verb, whatever you said. That is true, man. You talk about beefing up. Yeah, they've got 4 DBs, like 3 safeties in a corner, or 2 corners, 2 safeties, whatever they had, and that's what they bought in addition to what was already there. Offensive linemen, they bought in 2 offensive linemen. They needed to beef up there because, like you said, Monroe Mills got hurt. They bought in a running back, Harrison Whaley, and they bought in another running back, and they bought in another defensive end from Tennessee Tech, as well. With Tennessee Tech, they had a sneaky decent roster. They actually won their conference, but I like you said, no excuses here. This is either now or never. Man, if they do win 10 games, what the hell are they gonna do? But never, what is it? One season of 10 wins would I believe is the stat way back when we started looking that up. One season of 10 wins, of double-digit wins, I believe.
Well, I think Bronco, he only won 9, right?
He only won 9. That was one of the more successful UVA programs ever, actually. When Bronco was doing his thing
I
with
can't
Bryce
remember
Perkins.
last time he won 10. When was that?
I want to say it may have been. I'm gonna look it up here, man. It was somebody out there in cyber world may be able to tell us. Let me see here.
It might be Al Groh.
Let's see here. UVA football records. Yeah, because I don't. Let me see. Sportsreference.com. It's a great place to go to look for stats and to get into some things. So I see it. Damn. Okay, in 2019 they won 9. That was the Perkins season, right? Because what are we?
Yeah, you see what he's
2024.
doing. You see what he's doing in the
I
was he in
watched
the
it.
CFL?
Hey, yeah, man. UFL. He's tearing it up. You know, he put it on the DC Defenders, man. He's putting on a show.
Was he in
I said,
Denver?
it's like Michigan, like the Michigan Panthers, I believe,
Okay,
playing it. In. Look at
Detroit.
Aaron, 1989, 10. Yeah, 1989. They went 10-3. The only time UVA has ever had double-digit wins.
89.
Wow, 89.
I thought Grove won 10 back when we had Schaub and Heath Miller. I guess
Sean
I'm wrong.
Moore. Yeah, I guess that is. That's is that Sean Moore's year? 89. You're gonna make me look at it now.
I thought we won 10 back when we had Matt Schaub, Heath Miller, and Wally Lundy when they beat West Virginia and Charlotte in the bowl game.
Sean Moore. It was Sean Moore. Let me see here. 1989. That was the year where the quarterback was Sean Moore and Matt Blunden was the backup, baby. That was a championship year.
What do we win back in 03? Like along those times when we played West Virginia and Pittsburgh when they had Larry Fitzgerald. We had Heath Miller, Matt Schaub, all them boys, Wally Lundy.
That was 2000 and
what we hit 9 wins?
I see.
Something along that line, yeah.
Well, 2002 they won 9. Year after that, 8, 8, 7.
Been that bad. I thought we won 10 that year.
In 95 they won 9. In 94 they won 9. The year after the championship or the championship run, I would say they tried to run the championship after Sean Moore. It was they won 8, and they won another 8. This was crazy, man.
Yeah, I didn't think it was that far back.
Yeah. Look at her. Look at Aaron 89. Everybody throwing the numbers out, buddy. yeah. I don't know, brother. Think about that. If they could even get close to 8, 9, 10 wins, I don't know. ACC is gonna be tough for them to navigate. Just from a continuity.
Oh, if he wins 10 games, they'll build a statue of him.
They will. And they're giving him a 4 or 5 year extension on top of a 10-year extension. that'll drive everybody crazy. If he wins 19 games, yeah, Elliott's gonna get an extension, and he's gonna make a statue. The question is, what's the statue gonna look like? What is it gonna be doing?
It'll be him outside of an empty stadium.
Oh, that's awful. But UVA wins 9-10 games. I think it'll resurrect. Winning, man, you can't tell me nothing. Washington, okay? When I'm talking about the Commanders / Redskins, where they were, you know what I mean? You were talking about an dismal situation.
You got the draft coming now.
All these things happen, when they started winning, got new ownership, all of a sudden everything opened up. But a lot of that, you still got, even though all that the ownership is doing what they're doing, you still have to win, right? You still got to win. You can have ownership, do great things, and, bring in new culture, new coaching, new general manager, drafting the right players. But if you're not winning on the field, it's still, you're still going to fall short. But it's the super recipe for success is you doing all the good things on the back end from an admin standpoint, and then you go on the field and you win, like what they won 12 games this year. UVA wins. That'd be the equivalent of UVA winning like 9 games, right? You
did it with Cowboy players though.
Ain't no doubt. Shit, you got the best one back that I wanted to keep. You could have kept all the other ones.
Stole them, right?
You stole them right back. You stole them right back.
He'll get hurt now.
You know, you know
Well,
that.
that was the boy Jacksonville passed on. You know what I mean? They
Yeah,
got rid of him. They got rid of him to Dallas and then Washington back to Dallas.
sometimes it just takes a little bit. You gotta be a little patient with guys. You know what I mean? And I think he's coming into his own for sure. I think he's gonna be fired. And then you just drafted
The boy from
another.
BC.
Oh, you drafted another firebringer, dude. That's. I was sitting here like this is some BS. It's some bull. I said the Cowboys are gonna be bringing the heat. You know already with Micah there. Your defensive tackle.
Fowler, and then that boy we got from BC.
That's it's awful, man. I'm just
And no
you guys
Dicky
are gonna
Zua coming up through the middle.
yeah. So
Y'all want to get off McLaurin? We'll take McLaurin off y'all if you want.
no, thank you. No,
Second round pick.
No, we'll keep him. Second round pick. I hear you. Would you trade him for CeeDee Lamb?
We need a number 2.
Oh, you think so you rather have him over or CeeDee Lamb over him?
No, but we need a number 2.
No.
If you want to trade us, I'll make him number 1 and put CD at 2 if that's what you want to do.
No, I think CD. I think Terry McLaurin has showed you give him a quarterback what he could really be. Because remember,
that's fine. I'll give you a first round pick. Give me him, and I'll put CD in the slot.
That's fire. That's hey, you talk about building a Madden Madden All-Star team with that.
Yeah, we talking no salary cap now.
Yeah. But McLaurin's shown what he could be, and you get him a quarterback who can really.
Oh yeah, he's a beast. There's no doubt about it.
What is it? This is like his third year in a row, top contested catches in the league. That's the thing about him is the ball, if it's in the air, and he's not like 6'4", 6'3", 6'2", he's 6 feet tall. You know?
Yeah, he's not big. But he wasn't a first round pick, right?
Third round pick. Third round pick. Yep. Ohio State.
So y'all got to extend him soon, right? Next year?
They extended him. They got to extend him some more. I think he's in his last year. They extended him already.
Okay.
Now they have to do it another time. Because he's 30 years old, believe it or not, but he's had his best year ever. You know? But he's one of those guys that keeps himself together, obviously. He's a great team guy. But if back to Virginia, if Virginia wins 8 to 9 games based off what this team is, another thing is, and this was a little something in our chat, Chad, about Chandler Morris, you know? Chandler Morris, you know, was getting interviewed. Chandler Morris said, hey, I come here to win championships, right? We talking about wins and all that. Chandler Morris said he come here to win. He's not here to dick around with, hey, man, we're not, I'm just not, coming here, just to put up numbers and to compete and set up my draft position. He wants to win, dude. What do you got to say about that, man? And I know that, one of our folks in the chat was kind of joking about that. It was like, yeah, right. And, I kind of was like, I was surprised to see that.
No, I mean, I get it. Like people in the chat were saying, like, what do you want him to say? We're going to come here and we're going to suck. But obviously, as I know, we're coming here to win a national championship and all that. It's a little far-fetched. Or even the ACC championship. Like, obviously, that's what we want them to say. I mean, obviously, you're not going to come in here and say, hey, this team sucks. We're going to suck. We're just going to play football. But, obviously, we like the enthusiasm. But so I like his attitude, and I think he has the potential to be a great quarterback. I think we paid, I'm hearing $2 million for him. We should have kept McNeely for that money. But anyway, no. Obviously, you want a positive quarterback. You want a positive player anyway. Offensive line, receiver, defensive back, whatever. You want to be positive. But at the same time, most of our fans, like in the chat we were talking about, somewhat realistic, guys. I mean, hell, if we win an ACC championship, we'll have a parade. But at the same time, Law, what do you want them to say? We're going to come, we're going to play football. So I think on both sides, find a median. Hey, we're going to go compete, but obviously we're not going to compete for a national championship. But hey, I'm here for the parade.
Oh, you're breaking up there. You were saying he was saying that he's just not going to compete. No, I really like what he said. I think he can't. He's saying that he's here to compete. He's here to to win championships. Something that you typically don't hear a Virginia player or quarterback really say. Usually they're kind of humble, you know. Um, wasn't arrogant, but it was very confident, in the way that he was saying it, and I'll take it. I'll take that, for what that's worth. I'll take that. And that's your quarterback as well. That's your leader. So let's go ahead and let him lead. Let's see what comes out. I mean, he's got something to live, play up to now, and hopefully he can really show us what he has going on. But Ball Hog has said, um, not last interview, but the interview before, he said we lost 10, and he liked 10, some ways, but he said once we see 4, he said we'll definitely be very excited about what we're gonna get from number 4 from Chandler Morris. Probably make us forget about 10. So I want to see it. I'm ready to see it, man. So that sounds great to me. So on to
2 million.
basketball. Yeah, 2 million.
$2 million.
Yeah, well, hey, it's the game, the dirty game we all got to play right now.
Put
And
up
it
or
seems
shut
like
up,
UVA's
right?
playing. Yeah, you seem like UVA's playing it pretty decently right now, compared to not even having a UVA being on people's radar. Because you can't tell me that UVA was on all these guys' radars last year. You know what I mean? It couldn't have been.
No,
Oh
no,
yeah, I want to
we're
go to
throwing
UVA.
We're throwing bags around. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, we slinging bags. We're
We're
throwing bags.
throwing checks. Ain't no doubt
Yeah,
about that.
I mean, you think about it, a kid from Tennessee, Miami,
The one
Syracuse,
from
New
Alabama on
Mexico,
the D line.
Alabama. Chandler came through. Kid from the other kid from Nebraska. The developmental
Yeah,
quarterback.
yeah.
Come on, man. We putting it out there.
It's not Tennessee State Community College anymore. It's Alabama now.
Right. That's right. That's right.
The boy
So
that caused the fumble in the spring game.
yeah, I'm ready, man. Yeah, we got the kid from
They're putting up the
Ohio
money.
State.
That's all we can ask.
That's all. Yeah,
Right.
and you know what?
Exactly.
You're giving him what did Bill Parcells say? Let me shop for the groceries, you know, and Tony's shopping for some groceries. He's got his squad out there. Look at he said we slinging when Dion mentions when Dion mentions your name, got to be slinging, baby. Slinging it for sure.
I think Belichick is coaching them, but his girlfriend's buying them groceries down in
That's
Carolina.
another conversation. Maybe another article to come out within this week, and we'll have to talk about that next week. You know what I mean? And see what's what about that. That's a crazy one. I don't even know what to think about that. But yeah, that's something that we can talk about as well. But UVA basketball, let's talk about them really quick. UVA, same thing. We're talking about throwing bags around, getting talent through. Um, Coach Odom has pretty much filled out the roster. But one thing we're really waiting on was some big men. He had a lot of guards, a lot of wing players, but we needed some big men. And it looks like he got a couple big men. And the big get was Johan Grunlow, big European player who was one of the top European players for his country for the U18 team. But he, remember those players over there, they've been playing against professional men players since they were 14, 15 years old. So they're really accustomed to playing big boy basketball. And the kid's a center. He's 6'10", 6'11", can shoot the ball. Also a shot blocker, big time shot blocker. Does decently rebound. I think it's 6-7 rebound player a game. So, and obviously he's going to be the starting center, with a skill set of being able to shoot and block shots on the defensive end. Also, then the backup, I guess they got the backup center. He's a 7-footer, Ugana Arsenio, and he's a guy who really looks like he can block shots. He averages like per 40 minutes like 5 to 6 block shots a game. So, that's what they needed. Rebounder, shot blocker. They got it. They got enough offense, it looks like, on the team. They got a lot of shooters who shoot above 40%. With this system, and he's going to run almost like a 2-platoon kind of a system, which I really like. It's going to be a lot of up tempo, some of the things that we're not used to seeing as a UVA follower, fan, and reporter. So let me come to you, Wood. How do you feel about this new roster that Coach Odom has built?
So I'm feeling a little bit better about it because, the criticism a couple of weeks ago was, the big men, who are big men, People said, they're coming. I say, yeah, well, we'll see. So now we have big men. We have a good roster, in my opinion. I just hope we have the depth. We have the depth that we need. So it's going to be interesting as far as from Tony Bennett to Ryan Odom. They're obviously both highly defensive players. Coaches, and they rely on their players big time. So you got to have depth with Ryan Odom because he's up and down the court offensively, and that's going to be a little bit different than what we're used to, obviously.
Yeah.
With when it more slow offense, but it's gonna be. I'm excited, man. It's going to be fun to watch because you still have that defensive aspect as we saw with UMBC.
Trapping.
But you also have
be.
But he also wants to get up and down the court on offense. He doesn't want this half-court style that Tony had. So it's going to be different. It's going to be interesting, but I don't know if he has the full roster. He needs the first year to be what he wants, and I think he doesn't think he does. But, man, to have that same defense that we're going to have, a great defense, but we're also going to have exciting basketball on the offensive side, I'm excited to see it, man. And I think, these big men he's added, it's definitely taken they may not. The boy he was second round draft pick if he entered the draft.
Projected, yeah.
So he's not just getting big men, he's getting great big men. So we'll see. I was a naysayer, but he's proven me wrong so far. But just to see that same level of defense that we had, and you add that aspect of up and down the court offense, it's going to be fun to watch, in my opinion.
I feel you. I'm the same way on that. I want to see, and if you remember, because the typical VCU style with Shaka Smart, Anthony, what's the coach's name? Anthony, I can't remember his last name, but they played a up and down style, trapping style. UMBC played that full court kind of a style. 5 guys in, pressing, playing hard, running up and down the court. And then the same thing. When they bring in the next 5, same thing, same philosophy. That's what I think that he is going to implement here.
Grant.
And what was that?
Anthony Grant.
There you go, Anthony Grant. Yep. And it's just an aggressive style of defense and a trapping aggressive style. And like you said, Wood, up and down, they shoot a lot of threes. They shoot a lot of threes as well, which you can see that in his recruiting.
Everybody, if you notice the guys he's recruited, most of them are good 3-point shooters.
That's right. Only one that's not a good free throw shooter is the shot blocker, Ugana Asenso. Yeah, he's the only one, but he's supposed to be, from what his numbers look like, he's a great shot blocker. When you give him the minutes. So that's the only one that I can see that's not like a great, he doesn't like too much of a great offensive player, but great defensive player. Sometimes you just need, your Dennis Rodman type of a player on the roster. What is my man James Watson saying? He goes, I don't think any of the recruits that are transferring here for basketball have scored more than about 10 points a game at their previous schools. You're right. I think there's a few that may have scored like in the 13s or a couple 13s or 14s, but you're right. A lot of the guys, were kind of like the maybe second or third fiddle on the teams they come from. But the way that the coach runs the system, that's probably the way he's going to need them to play, because he's going to like 2-platoon it. He's going to run in, run them out, and they're going to play hard and then get on out. So only one person returning from the roster, which is Elijah Gertrude, and we'll see how it goes, man. I like to be optimistic on this piece now that I've kind of seen what the roster holds, but this is gonna be good, man. This is gonna be good. I think along with the way the football team has added, and the way that the basketball team has added players, maybe we're looking at something different, from a UVA program, from a UVA team UVA athletic program that is ready to compete, and look for bigger things, bigger wins. From you, Wood, let me ask you. So, how do you feel about the program now? I know, some people have given Carla some flack about, how the teams have been doing, but how do you feel about them right now?
Sorry, I was going back to that last comment. Did he say the guys weren't averaging over 10 points a game at their old school?
So, yeah, some of the guys, a lot of the guys he brought in were about 10 points and under, but then there's a couple guys who,
yeah, no, I'll push back on that. A couple of them scoring almost 20 points a game.
I know that there was a guy at 13, another guy like a 14-ish, maybe a guy that was 18, but a lot of the guys, but the way that he runs, you may not have guys scoring 20 points a game, because of the minutes. He's going to be splitting a lot of minutes. He's going to be using a lot of combinations. I don't see Odom as a unless you have one of these guys step up and be like all world, which can happen. You never know. This Johan Grunlow could come in and be like, hey, remember, did you see that kid from what was his name? From Stanford, the big man from Stanford this year. He came in like averaging like 20. He was almost averaging the same amount of points and rebounds like what Cooper Flagg was averaging, like 20 and 10. This kid may come in averaging like 18 and 9 or something like that, and you're gonna have to give him more time.
No, I agree. I was just pushing back on that. They're scoring more than 10 points a game. That one boy was scoring almost
20. Mm-hmm. He says, Johan, 7 foot, 8 points a game. Yeah. Well. Keep in mind, Johan Grunlow played on a pro team, from where he's coming from. Even though he can, when you're a pro in Europe, you can still come here and play for the college teams. So he was.
Mm-hmm. I also think Odom's also going for fit. He's not picking 5 guys that score 20 points a game. I mean, he's going for what it fits. And if you go by conference, I mean, we can't argue that what conference they came from because they haven't been on the court yet. It's hard to really tell that. You know what I mean? The quarterback comes from a small conference too, so if he lights the world on fire, we can't really say he's not going to be good because he came from a small conference. Because we've seen all the small conferences. Once you get good, you get scooped up by Duke, Kentucky, with the transfer portal. Yeah. So you can't say he came from a small conference. I mean, that can't be a knock on him. We'll have to wait and see. But to say they didn't score 10 points a game, that's kind of a knock on them. That a couple of guys scored 19, 20 points a game. Another point guard did. So, I mean, it's kind of wait and see. You can't say they came from a small conference and they didn't average 20 points. You know what I mean?
This is what I can see. This is what's been surprising to me is, and maybe it's not so surprising, but it's enlightening to see is you have players that are coming from smaller schools, like you said, Chad, jumping in and blowing up in the FCS level. They come from, maybe a smaller FCS school or a big FCS school, and some Division II school. They come in and they're like very, very productive. And it was like maybe they would just kind of slip through the cracks, and they needed a year of playing at the lower level to jump back up to play, on the big boy level, on the NCAA FBS level. So yeah, that's something that I've seen a lot lately. And of course, I being that there's NIL, there's money flying around, you have these kids just capitalizing on who can pay me. So that's why you see a lot of this talent just flying around, and nothing is secure, nothing is you know, nothing is certain. So you just got to keep your bags full and keep your bags flying, I guess. So you can continue to get some of this talent that's out there, man. You know. Yeah. So closing monologue, Wood. Talk to me. What is Aaron is saying? He goes, heck, we had TJ Power. Yeah. TJ Power was not that player for us. Now TJ went down to I think an FCS school or a lower level FBS school. Watch TJ eat, you know, and then he'll probably come back up in a year or two and be ready. I just think it was a strength thing for him and a confidence thing. But he can shoot the ball. But yeah, before we get to open ending monologue though, did you feel the earthquake, Wood?
No, I was in Northern Virginia, Manassas. I saw something
Okay.
about it, but no, I didn't feel it.
Yeah, I didn't really feel it at all, but I know some folks in Central Virginia were saying that they felt that earthquake. It was it 3 point something earthquake. But yeah,
I
hopefully
did hear
everything's fine.
they heard it. They heard it in Blacksburg, but it didn't shake any trophies off the shelf. So I think they're right.
Oh man, person is not even on here to appreciate
I
that.
know. Where's she at?
I don't know. We have to get her back up here soon. But talk to me, Wood. What would you like to say in your closing monologue?
Hey, closing monologue. I like to talk about UVA baseball.
Okay, let's go.
So we're right there on the bubble, and a couple of the last ones I've looked at were first four out, as you would say in college basketball. So got a couple. We can't lose any midweek games like Towson. We got tomorrow night. We got Miami coming up, I believe, at home, and we got another
Hmm.
midweek, and then we go to Virginia Tech next weekend, and Virginia Tech also on the bubble, and we're playing them a 3-game series in Blacksburg next week, and obviously ACC tournament after that. So we're right there. So to be preseason number 2, and then we're on the bubble. We can't lose any of these midweek games, and we also probably got to win both series at Miami and Virginia Tech. But I think maybe if we do a show next week, when we go to Virginia Tech the following week, the winner of that series might make the tournament, so that might be worth watching.
Mm. Oh yeah, definitely worth watching. This is the time to peak, right? This is the time to peak. And they need to come on through. My man James saying, yeah, I think their bass fishing trophy fell off the shelf. Right, I think that's the only one they got. But yeah, closing monologue for me is uh we have some time. We have some time. It's only May right now. We got what? May, we got June, July, then August comes, right? That's when we get into preseason practice, training camp for the team. And we have to understand that we want this team to gel. We want this team to get comfortable with each other. We want this team to get themselves to a point where they trust each other. Let's see what happens during this summertime and see how this team, which looks like the staff and UVA, Coach Elliott and them, they have assembled a decent amount of talent. I think, dare I say, a good amount of talent, good and talented young men that have come here that usually wouldn't have come to Virginia based off of previous transfer portals, hauls that we've had. So I'm definitely looking forward to this. I need, we need this shot in the arm as a program. The stadium's been empty. The excitement's been down. No matter how loud they play the music, fans aren't hyped. Fans aren't making too much noise. Like I've seen it in that stadium. I've seen that stadium where I couldn't even talk. I couldn't even hear myself talk, think. I don't know. I just feel like, could this be the year that turns things around for this program? We'll wait and see. Wait and see. In basketball, we'll talk about that at a later date too, when their season starts coming around. Right now, they're just like football, they're acquiring talent, but their season's a little bit down the road as well. But let's just see. You know, I want this team to gel. Chandler, his receivers, the running backs, they're bringing the talent all over the place. I wonder if they're going to bring in, another receiver or maybe another player or so. But ranked by rivals, they had the number 11 transfer portal, ranked number 11 transfer portal out of college football. So let's see, man. I'm excited about it. Let's go Wahoos. And I want to thank you for joining us and hanging out with us. And come around next week. Let's kind of figure some of these things out. Let's see what the news is. Let's see what happens with the baseball team, like Wood is saying. Is the softball team, are they out? Or are they waiting on a tournament as well? Because they have been doing really well. Didn't they just finish up on Liberty?
You talking about softball?
Yeah.
No, I think they're in good shape.
Okay, yeah, they have been doing very well. But yeah, but we gotta thank you for hanging out with us. But we'll see you next week. But as of now, the shop is closed. Thank you, guys. We will see you next week. Bye-bye.